Ladies and gentlemen, words are powerful. They can shape a man's heart, define his destiny, or break his spirit. Words are not just sounds. They are forces that leave a mark long after they are spoken. And tonight, I am going to share with you 7 dangerous things you should never say to a man. Now, why is this important? Because the words we speak can either build or destroy. Many relationships, friendships, even careers have been wrecked, not by actions, but by words spoken carelessly. And some of these words, once spoken, can never be taken back. Perhaps you've wondered why some men withdraw, why they stop talking, why they seem distant. Sometimes it's not about what's happening outside of them, but about the words that have pierced them inside. Words can discourage, demotivate, and even break a man's will. So, listen closely, because the truth I am about to share might just change the way you communicate forever. Men are wired to lead, to protect, to achieve. And when you tell a man he is not good enough, you don't just attack his abilities, you attack his very identity. The world may doubt him, but when the people closest to him do the same, it strikes like a dagger to the heart. Comparison is the enemy of confidence. When you compare a man to someone else, whether it's an ex, a coworker, or even a fictional character, you are telling him that he is not your choice. He is simply your settlement. Men are designed to be needed. It's not just about physical strength, it's about purpose. When you tell a man you don't need him, you remove the very thing that makes him want to stay and fight for you. No one is perfect, but when you use words like always and never, you don't criticize an action, you condemn a person. Even the strongest man will shrink under constant accusations. Comparison with a past relationship is one of the most painful things a man can hear. It tells him that no matter what he does, he will never be enough because your heart is still somewhere else. Men are not mind readers. They respond to clear communication, not silent expectations. If you assume he should know, you set him up for failure. Respect is to a man what love is to a woman. When you belittle him, especially in public, you strip away his dignity. A man would rather be alone than be constantly treated as lesser. Ladies and gentlemen, words matter. If you want a man to rise, speak words that lift him. If you want a man to fight for you, speak words that strengthen him. If you want a man to love you, speak words that show you believe in him. And remember, once spoken, words cannot be undone. So speak life. Speak wisdom. Speak love. And watch how it transforms the men around you. Now, which of these points resonated with you the most? Share your thoughts below. Words carry a force that extends beyond sound. They shape thoughts, build relationships, and define a person's confidence. They have the power to uplift or to destroy, to encourage or to discourage, to breathe life into a dream or to crush it completely. A single phrase spoken in the heat of the moment can linger in a person's heart for years, shaping their self-image, their decisions, and even their future. The words spoken to a man have the ability to strengthen his will or shatter his confidence. They can either push him to rise to his full potential or make him doubt his worth. And the most dangerous part? Many times, the damage is not immediate. It is slow, silent, and internal, building over time until one day he begins to believe the lies that have been spoken over him. Men are wired differently. While they may not always express emotion in the same way, they feel deeply. Their identity is often tied to what they can achieve, how they provide, how they lead, and how they are perceived by those closest to them. The right words can make a man feel like he can conquer the world, while the wrong words can make him feel like a failure before he even tries. This is why certain phrases, even if spoken without bad intentions, can cut deeper than a blade. Words like, "You're not good enough," "You always mess things up," or "You'll never change," become internalized as truth when spoken repeatedly. It's not just about what is said, it's about how it is received. A man who is constantly told he is inadequate will eventually stop trying. A man who is frequently reminded of his past failures will begin to believe that success is out of reach. But the reverse is also true. Words of encouragement, belief, and trust can transform a man's life. When a man hears, "I believe in you," "I'm proud of you," or "You have what it takes," something inside of him shifts. He stands taller. He pushes harder. He starts to believe in himself because someone else believed in him first. What we say to a man has the potential to either confirm his fears or affirm his strengths. The words we choose determine whether we are planting seeds of confidence or doubt, strength or weakness, motivation or discouragement. And once those seeds are planted, they will grow, for better or for worse. Respect is the foundation of a man's confidence, the fuel that drives his ambition, and the anchor that keeps him grounded in his relationships. While love and affection are important, respect is what truly speaks to his soul. A man can endure hardship, failure, and setbacks, but if he feels disrespected, especially by those closest to him, shakes his entire sense of self. The way a man is spoken to, the words used when addressing him, and the tone in which they are delivered, all carry weight. Disrespect, even when unintentional, has a way of cutting deeper than physical wounds because it directly attacks his identity. A man who feels respected will rise to the occasion, push past obstacles, and strive to be better. But a man who constantly feels belittled, criticized, or treated as if he is incapable will eventually withdraw, either emotionally or physically. Many relationships, whether romantic, professional, or familial, crumble not because of a lack of love, but because of a lack of respect. It's not always the loud, obvious words of insult that do the most damage. Sometimes it's the subtle remarks, the sarcastic tones, the dismissive gestures, and the constant questioning of his decisions that slowly chip away at his spirit. Men are not perfect, and they make mistakes just like everyone else. But there is a difference between correction and humiliation. Constructive criticism builds, but constant fault-finding destroys. A man needs to know that even when he falls short, he is still seen as capable, valuable, and worthy of trust. When a man senses that his efforts are never enough, that his leadership is always second-guessed, or that his voice is dismissed, he begins to pull away, not just from the person making him feel this way, but from the responsibilities and roles he once embraced with confidence. Honor is the highest form of respect. It is not about blind obedience or ignoring flaws. It is about recognizing a man's worth and treating him accordingly. When a man feels honored, he becomes more responsible, more loving, more protective, and more willing to go the extra mile for those who believe in him. Words of respect, like, "I appreciate what you do," "I trust your judgment," or "I value your efforts," can make all the difference in how a man sees himself and how he shows up in the world. The absence of respect drains a man's spirit, while the presence of it ignites his potential. Every man carries an internal battle that few ever see. Beneath the surface of confidence and strength, there are wounds, some from childhood, some from past failures, and some from words spoken in moments of anger or disappointment. These wounds don't always show, but they shape how a man thinks, reacts, and carries himself in the world. Words have a way of reaching into those hidden places, either healing them or making them. Some words, though spoken casually or in jest, can trigger deep emotional responses that alter the course of a man's actions, his relationships, and his self-worth. Men are often raised to suppress their emotions, to hide their pain behind a mask of toughness. Society teaches them to be strong, to endure, to man up when they are struggling. But no amount of external strength can completely shield a man from the emotional weight of the words spoken to him. A single phrase, especially when it touches a sensitive area, can linger in his mind for years, influencing how he sees himself and how he interacts with those around him. When a man is reminded of his past mistakes, compared unfavorably to someone else, or told that his emotions are invalid, it doesn't just hurt, it reinforces insecurities that he may have spent a lifetime trying to overcome. A man might not always respond outwardly when hurtful words are spoken, but that doesn't mean they don't affect him. Some men withdraw, choosing silence over confrontation. Others become defensive, reacting with anger to mask their pain. Some try to prove their worth through overachievement, while others stop trying altogether, believing deep down that they will never be enough. The way a man processes words depends on his experiences, his personality, and the emotional triggers he carries with him. Words like, you're weak, you'll never change, or you're just like your father, can strike a man at his core, reinforcing fears that he already wrestles with. Even seemingly small remarks like doubting his ability to provide, questioning his decisions, or dismissing his struggles can be devastating when they touch an area of deep insecurity. The power of emotional triggers lies in their ability to bring up past pain, making a man feel as though he is right back in the moment of his greatest failure or rejection. The weight of words should never be underestimated. What is said in a moment of frustration or carelessness can take years to undo. If the goal is to build up rather than tear down, then words must be chosen with wisdom, spoken with intention, and delivered with an understanding of the silent battles a man may be fighting. Comparison is one of the most damaging forces in a man's life. From a young age, men are measured against others, whether in school, sports, careers, or relationships. They are constantly evaluated, often feeling like their worth is determined by how they stack up against someone else. And while a little competition can be healthy, being compared to another person, especially by someone close, can wound a man in ways that are not easily healed. Words like, why can't you be more like him? Or, my ex used to do this better, may seem harmless or even meant as motivation, but they carry a weight that can shake a man's confidence and sense of identity. Men find value in their uniqueness. They want to be chosen for who they are, not measured against another person's achievements or qualities. When a man is compared to another, it sends a message that he is not enough, that he is failing to meet an unseen standard, that he is somehow coming up short. Over time, this can create resentment, self-doubt, or even emotional detachment. A man who constantly hears that he is not measuring up may either exhaust himself trying to be someone he's not, or shut down completely, believing that no matter what he does, he will never be good enough. One of the most damaging forms of comparison comes in relationships. When a man hears that another man, whether an ex, a friend, or even a celebrity, does something better, earns more, looks better, or behaves in a more desirable way, it doesn't inspire him to change. It makes him question his worth. He may not say it out loud, but inside he wonders if he is truly appreciated or simply being tolerated. And once that doubt takes root, it can change the way he interacts. He may become defensive, withdraw emotionally, or stop trying altogether. But comparison doesn't only affect romantic relationships. It can also destroy friendships, family bonds, and professional relationships. A father who constantly compares his son to another child may think he is encouraging growth, but in reality, he is planting a seed of inadequacy. A boss who tells an employee that a colleague performs better may think he is motivating excellence, but he is actually creating insecurity. A friend who constantly brings up someone else's success might believe they are offering inspiration, but instead, they could be fostering silent resentment. A man thrives in an environment where he is valued for his own strengths, where his efforts are acknowledged, and where he is appreciated for who he is rather than who he should be. When a man feels that he is in a constant contest he never signed up for, he begins to withdraw from those who make him feel that way. Words hold the power to either build his confidence or tear it down. And comparison is one of the quickest ways to make him feel that who he is will never be enough. Criticism, when given constructively, can help a man grow, sharpen his skills, and become better in different areas of his life. But unnecessary criticism, the kind that tears down instead of builds up, can be deeply damaging. It is one thing to offer guidance or correction with love and respect. It is another to constantly highlight faults, point out mistakes, or make a man feel like he is never doing enough. Repeated criticism, especially when it lacks encouragement or appreciation, does not push a man to do better. It pushes him away. It makes him feel like no matter what he does, it will never be good enough. Men thrive in environments where their efforts are recognized and valued. They are not looking for perfection, but they do seek respect and appreciation for what they bring to the table. When a man is constantly met with criticism, whether about how he works, how he talks, how he dresses, or even how he expresses emotions, he begins to shut down. He may stop sharing his thoughts, hold back his opinions, or even withdraw emotionally. This isn't because he doesn't care. It's because he has learned that whatever he says or does will likely be met with disapproval. Over time, this can create a distance that is difficult to bridge. Criticism can be especially harmful when it is public. If a man is corrected, mocked, or belittled in front of others, whether among friends, family, or colleagues, it can crush his confidence. Men are wired to value respect, and public humiliation can feel like a direct attack on their dignity. Even if the words spoken were not meant to harm, the way they are delivered can make all the difference. A simple correction said in the right tone can inspire change, but the same words spoken with frustration, sarcasm, or contempt can wound deeply. Another dangerous form of criticism is when it is constant but lacks balance. If all a man hears are complaints about what he is doing wrong and never any words of appreciation for what he is doing right, he will eventually tune out the criticism altogether. He will either resent it or ignore it, seeing it as an attack rather than an opportunity to grow. This is why words must be chosen carefully. If a correction needs to be made, it should be paired with encouragement. If guidance is needed, it should be given with patience and understanding. A man will respond positively to words that show belief in him, but he will resist words that only remind him of his shortcomings. Words have the power to shape a man's confidence and self-worth, and unnecessary criticism, if unchecked, can break both. The strength of any relationship, whether romantic, familial, or professional, rests on trust, communication, and mutual respect. A bond between two people is like a bridge, carefully built over time, supported by words, actions, and shared experiences. But just as a bridge can weaken from repeated pressure, a relationship can be eroded by careless words, unspoken resentment, or a lack of appreciation. Some words may seem small in the moment, but when spoken repeatedly, they create cracks in the foundation. If a man feels unappreciated, constantly criticized, or emotionally dismissed, he may not argue or push back. He may simply begin to withdraw, slowly distancing himself without even realizing it. Men may not always express their emotions as openly as women, but that does not mean they do not feel deeply. A man who is constantly made to feel like his efforts are never enough will eventually stop trying. A man who is ignored when he speaks will eventually stop sharing his thoughts. A man who feels like he is only tolerated, not valued, will eventually stop investing in the relationship. This withdrawal is not always immediate. Sometimes it happens gradually over time, with small moments adding up until one day the connection is barely there. One of the easiest ways to weaken a bond is through careless communication. Words spoken in frustration, sarcasm, or disrespect can linger in a man's mind long after they are said. While disagreements are natural in any relationship, the way they are handled determines whether they bring people closer or drive them apart. If conflicts always turn into blame, belittling, or bringing up past mistakes, a man will begin to associate the relationship with stress rather than support. Even silence can be damaging. When a man senses that his presence, thoughts, or feelings are met with indifference, he may start to believe that he is no longer important. On the other hand, a strong bond is built through intentional communication by acknowledging efforts, showing appreciation, and choosing words that uplift rather than tear down. When a man hears that he is valued, when he is met with patience rather than criticism, and when his struggles are understood rather than dismissed, he feels safe in the relationship. This security allows him to open up, invest more, and grow stronger in his role. Guarding the bond is not about avoiding all conflict or pretending everything is perfect. It is about being mindful of the words spoken and the way emotions are handled. Relationships thrive when both people feel heard, respected, and valued. And it only takes small, daily choices to either strengthen or weaken the connection. Words are more powerful than we often realize. They have the ability to build up or tear down, to strengthen or weaken, to inspire confidence or plant seeds of doubt. A man may carry the weight of words spoken to him for years, even if the moment they were said has long passed. What we choose to say or not say shapes how a man sees himself, how he moves through the world, and how he engages in his relationship. Respect, appreciation, trust, and understanding are not just things men desire. They are things they need in order to thrive. When a man feels supported, he will rise to his potential. When he feels respected, he will pour more of himself into his relationships. When he feels valued, he will work harder, love deeper, and stand stronger. But when he is constantly met with criticism, comparison, emotional triggers, and disrespect, he will begin to withdraw, not because he wants to, but because he feels like he has no other choice. We must choose our words wisely. It's not about avoiding difficult conversations or never offering correction. It's about speaking with purpose, with kindness, and with a desire to uplift rather than break down. Every man carries battles we may not see, and the words we speak can either add to that burden or help lift it. So today, let's commit to using our words to encourage, to strengthen, and to build. Let's replace criticism with constructive guidance, comparison with appreciation, and frustration with patience. The men in our lives, whether they are our fathers, husbands, sons, brothers, or friends, need words that remind them of their worth, not words that make them question it. Because when a man is spoken to with respect, trust, and belief, he will not only rise to meet that expectation, he will exceed it.